Well, this is an important foreign policy trip for Boris Johnson. He begins a pretty busy 72 hours here in New York, where later on today he's going to meet a whole host of world leaders at the United Nations, from President Erdogan of Turkey to President Bolsonaro of Brazil to President Moon of South Korea, even Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. Now, top of the agenda in almost all of these meetings will, of course, be climate change. Britain is hosting that crucial COP26 summit in Glasgow at the start of November. Now, Boris Johnson had set this target, essentially, or was part of this target, to try and get £100 billion pledged by wealthy countries to help poor countries to reach climate change targets. However, on the way over on the plane, he seemed to play down the possibility that that would be achieved this week. In fact, he only gave himself a 6 out of 10 chance that it would be achieved by that summit at the start of November. So clearly a very difficult task ahead, a reminder just of how difficult potentially this COP26 summit will be for the Prime Minister. And that's why these meetings at the UN are so important later today. It is also an issue that inevitably is going to come up when he meets with President Biden, which he's expected to do in the White House for the first time as Prime Minister later on this week. As I say, both men are committed to many climate change targets. They do take it pretty seriously, but it is a pretty mammoth task for both the US administration and the British government. Also on the agenda at that meeting in Washington, it must be said, will be this defence deal that the US and Britain has signed with Australia, which has caused an awful diplomatic row with France. But again, on the plane over, the Prime Minister telling us reporters about how he wanted to smooth relations with France in many ways, particularly with President Macron, saying that the relationship with France is one that he's very, very proud of and that it is incredibly important to this country. One other thing, it must be said, the Prime Minister was asked about away from the international arena, very domestic issue here, was the potential shortage of goods that we're seeing in supermarkets. Now, that's been brought about by rising gas prices and also a shortage of hauliers. And the Prime Minister was forced to admit that this situation in supermarkets with a shortage of goods could well last for months. It could well bump in to the Christmas period. Now, he said it's not a crisis, it's not something people should be panicking about. In fact, that they should not be concerned about it. But in the end, he did say that he couldn't rule out the possibility, as I say, that it could go on for weeks. He hoped that it wouldn't do, but it could well do. And his answer for why it's all happening, well, he essentially said it's the world economy opening up, starting up again after COVID. So still questions on the domestic front for the Prime Minister when we were asking him on the plane over, but his attention today really will be on that issue of climate change as he meets that range of world leaders here in New York.